In the grand tapestry of history, few threads gleam with such resilient defiance as the Battle of Thermopylae. The year is 480 BC, a time when the sprawling Achaemenid Empire of Persia cast a long and ominous shadow over the Hellenic world. King Xerxes I, sovereign of Persia, marshaled an army of unprecedented scale, its numbers so vast they were said to drink rivers dry. His ambition was singular and absolute, to subjugate the fractious but proud city-states of Greece and avenge the defeat his father, Darius the First, had suffered at Marathon a decade earlier. The news of this approaching tide of men and steel sent tremors of fear throughout Greece. Many city-states, overwhelmed by the sheer might of the Persian war machine, chose the path of submission, offering the symbolic gifts of earth and water. Yet, a confederacy of states, led by the martial powerhouse of Sparta, resolved to stand firm against the deluge. They understood that to yield was to forfeit not just their lands, but their very identity and the burgeoning concept of freedom. The strategy devised by the allies was one of geographic cunning, aiming to neutralize Persia's numerical advantage. The Athenian statesman Themistocles argued that the Persian land army must be checked at a narrow pass, while their navy was engaged at sea. The chosen choke point on land was Thermopylae, a sliver of a path known as the Hot Gates. Here, the mountains tumbled almost directly into the Malian Gulf, leaving a passage so constricted that a handful of men could hold it against a multitude. To this critical juncture, Sparta dispatched one of its two kings, Leonidas. He did not lead an army, but a hand-picked royal guard of 300 Spartans. Each man was a veteran, a father who had already left a son behind to continue his lineage, a testament to the finality of their mission. They were not sent to win, but to die, buying precious time for the rest of Greece to rally its forces. Along their march, they were joined by contingents from other city-states, Thespians, Thebans, Phocians, and more, swelling their numbers to a few thousand. Still, their force was but a pebble against the mountain of Xerxes' host. Upon reaching Thermopylae, the Greeks set to work, strengthening an old Phocian wall that spanned the narrowest point of the pass. The air was thick with the scent of salt from the sea and the nervous energy of men preparing for the fight of their lives. When the Persian vanguard arrived, Xerxes was incredulous at the sight of the tiny army arrayed against him. He waited for 4 days, convinced the Greeks would see the futility of their position and disperse. He sent emissaries demanding their surrender, famously telling them to hand over their arms. Leonidas' reply was laconic and legendary: "Molon Labe, come get them." On the 5th day, the assault began. Xerxes first sent the Medes and Sicilians, expecting them to easily overwhelm the defenders. But the narrow pass was a great equalizer, turning the battle into a brutal, intimate affair. The Greek phalanx, a wall of overlapping bronze shields and bristling spear points, held firm. Their long spears, the dory, outreached the shorter weapons of the Persians, allowing them to inflict casualties from a position of relative safety. Wave after wave of Persian infantry crashed against this Hellenic rock and broke upon it. The Spartans, masters of warfare, fought in rotation, their discipline unwavering. Frustrated by the mounting losses, Xerxes unleashed his elite guard, the 10,000 immortals. They were called immortals because their number was never allowed to drop, any slain member being immediately replaced. Yet even these famed warriors could not break the Spartan line. The Greeks employed feigned retreats, a tactic that lured the overconfident Persians into a disorganized charge. Then, they would turn in perfect unison, crashing back into the disordered ranks and causing horrific slaughter. The pile of bodies grew so high it formed a gruesome secondary wall, from his throne on a nearby hill. Xerxes was said to have leapt to his feet 3 times in terror for his army. The first day ended with a Persian retreat and a Greek victory, but the cost was beginning to show. The second day mirrored the first, with relentless Persian assaults meeting the same unyielding defense. The air was a cacophony of screams, clashing metal, and the roars of commanders. The Greeks held, their resolve hardening with every passing hour. Xerxes was at an impasse, his massive army stymied by a few thousand men in a narrow pass. The tide of the battle, however, was not to be turned by force of arms, but by betrayal. A local man, a Malian named Ephialtes, sought reward from the Persian king. He knew the mountains intimately, every path and goat track. For the promise of wealth, he revealed the existence of a hidden trail that bypassed the Greek position. This path, the Thermopylae Pass, would allow the Persians to encircle the defenders and attack them from the rear. Xerxes immediately dispatched his immortals under the command of Hydarnes to follow Ephialtes. They marched through the night, their footsteps muffled by the oak leaves of the forest. The Phocian guards stationed to defend the path were taken by surprise, overwhelmed by the elite Persian force. As dawn broke on the third day, Greek scouts brought the terrible news to Leonidas. They were surrounded. The battle was lost. A council of war was held amidst the growing dread. Most of the allied commanders argued for a full retreat to save their men to fight another day. Leonidas knew his duty as a Spartan king. Spartan law forbade retreat in the face of the enemy. He officially dismissed the other Greek contingents, releasing them from their obligation. He and his 300 Spartans would remain to guard the rear, a final, suicidal act of defiance. Their stand would delay the Persian advance, ensuring the safe escape of the main force. The 700 Thespians, led by their general Demophilus, made their heroic choice to stay as well. They would not abandon their allies, choosing to share their fate and glory. A contingent of Thebans, whose city was suspected of collaborating with the Persians, were compelled to remain. As the sun climbed higher, the remaining Greeks knew their end was near. Leonidas reportedly told his men to eat a hearty breakfast, for they would be dining that night in Hades. The final stand was not fought in the narrowest part of the pass, but in a wider section. Their goal was no longer to hold a position, but to inflict as many casualties as possible before they were overwhelmed. They fought with a fury born of desperation and a complete acceptance of their fate. Spears shattered, and they fought on with their short swords. The Gesiphos did. When their swords broke, they fought with their hands and teeth. Leonidas fell in the heart of the melee, a king fighting and dying alongside his men. A fierce struggle erupted over his body, with the Greeks driving the Persians back 4 times to retrieve their fallen king. Eventually, the sheer numbers of the Persian army became insurmountable. The remaining Greeks, wounded and exhausted, made their last stand on the small hillock within the pass. Xerxes, wanting to avoid further losses to his infantry, commanded his archers to finish the job. A storm of arrows rained down upon the last defenders, a torrent of death from which there was no escape. And so, the last of the heroes of Thermopylae fell. The pass was silent, save for the wind and the groans of the dying. Xerxes, in a fit of rage, had Leonidas's body decapitated and crucified, an act considered barbaric even by the standards of the time. The Persian victory at Thermopylae was a Pyrrhic one. They had won the pass, but at a tremendous cost. The 2-day delay and the heavy casualties had shattered the myth of Persian invincibility. More importantly, the sacrifice of Leonidas and his men became a powerful rallying cry for all of Greece. It was a moral victory that fueled the fires of resistance. The story of the 300 became a legend, a testament to courage against impossible odds. This newfound unity and morale would prove decisive in the subsequent battles. At the naval battle of Salamis, the allied Greek fleet, under Themistocles' command, would crush the Persian navy. The following year, at the Battle of Plataea, the full might of the Greek hoplites would decisively defeat the Persian army, ending the invasion for good. The stand at Thermopylae was not the final victory, but it was the necessary spark. It was a sacrifice that purchased the time and the will for Greece to save itself. A monument was later erected at the site of the final stand. Its epitaph, written by the poet Simonides, immortalized the fallen. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. Nyaim. The legacy of Thermopylae is not one of strategy or tactics, but of the human spirit. It is a story of how a few, bound by duty and honor, can stand against the many. It demonstrates that the strength of an army is not measured in numbers alone, but in the resolve of its soldiers. The defiance of Leonidas echoes through millennia, a timeless example of leadership and sacrifice. The battle itself was a tactical defeat, but a strategic and moral triumph. It forged a sense of national identity among the perpetually quarreling Greek states. They saw what they could accomplish when they stood together against a common foe. The Persian Empire, though vast and powerful, had been shown to be mortal. Its momentum was checked not by a great wall, but by the chests of brave men. The names of Leonidas and his 300 Spartans are forever etched in the annals of heroism. Their story serves as a perpetual reminder that some principles are worth dying for. Freedom, honor, and the defense of one's home are ideals that transcend time. The hot gates fell silent long ago, the battlefield now a peaceful plain. But the echoes of the clash, the memory of the sacrifice, remain. It is a story that continues to inspire soldiers, statesmen, and ordinary people. The battle was a crucible that tested the limits of human endurance and courage. The Spartans and their allies did not break. They held the line, paid the ultimate price, and in doing so, secured a future they would never see. The world would be a different place without their stand. Their defiance shaped the course of Western civilization. The legend of Thermopylae is a testament to the idea that even in defeat, there can be victory. The memory of their sacrifice became a beacon of hope for future generations. The battle highlighted the stark contrast between the two cultures. One was an empire of subjects, the other a coalition of free citizens. This distinction was at the very heart of the conflict. The Greeks fought for their homes, their families, and their way of life. The Persian soldiers fought for the glory of a distant king. This difference in motivation proved to be a decisive, intangible factor. The ground at Thermopylae was consecrated by their blood. The story is the cornerstone of classical history. It has been studied by military strategists for centuries. But its true power lies in its human drama. The choice of the Thespians to remain is a profound act of loyalty. They were not bound by the same rigid laws as the Spartans. Their sacrifice was one of pure, unadulterated solidarity. The betrayal of Ephialtes serves as a dark counterpoint to this heroism. His name became synonymous with nightmare in the Greek language. It shows that the greatest threats can come from within. The battle was a moment of terrible, clarifying truth. It stripped away all illusions, leaving only the core of conviction. The men who fought there faced the ultimate test. They looked into the abyss and did not flinch. Their story is not just history. It is a part of our collective human heritage. It speaks to the potential for greatness that lies within us all. The final stand on the hillock was an act of pure will. They had no hope of survival, only of a noble death. Their actions ensured that the idea of a free Greece would survive. The Battle of Thermopylae is a song of iron and blood, but its melody is one of enduring, unconquerable hope. It remains a powerful lesson on the price of freedom, and a tribute to those willing to pay it.